You've got questions, I've got answers. On this episode of You Asked, will I review the Hisense UX TV? Why don't we test TV temperature? Do I really just want to be Linus or Marquez? And subwoofers for Apple HomePods? Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison, and if you're new to this series on our channel, it's pretty simple. I take viewer and reader questions and answer them here. I try to choose commonly asked questions where possible, but I like to slip a little fun and entertainment in there too, so I may slip a few oddballs in as well. Info and entertainment. I guess that's infotainment? Anyway, if you like what you see here, please interact with the like button in whatever manner you enjoy best, be that smashing, crushing, clicking, or caressing. I ask because clicking that like button has a direct and measurable impact on how well this video does, and I need it to do well in order to keep doing them. So you ask, I answer, you like, I like, and the cycle sustains itself. That's how this works. Thanks a ton in advance, by the way. Oh, and a little teaser for the next episode. I'm going to answer the most frequently asked question I get in episode 4, and I know a lot of you are going to want to see that. So hit that notification bell if you haven't already so you don't miss it. Okay, on to our first question. Because I don't want to butcher anybody's name, I'm not even going to try on this one. So this person here asks, when are you going to review the UX Hisense? Aha! Well, back when you asked this question, my answer would have been possibly never. And that's because last I spoke to Hisense, they didn't think they were going to be able to send out review samples. So I actually suggested maybe they could fly reviewers in for an event where a bunch of folks could get a crack at measuring and evaluating the TV. Didn't hear back about that, so I was beginning to think maybe I wouldn't get that chance. But just 2 days ago, I learned that a Hisense UX is making its way here, and I could not be more excited. So to answer your question, give me a couple of weeks. We have a lot of TVs here to review, but that one is a priority, so I'll get to it ASAP. Someone with an unpronounceable screen name says, "Hi Caleb, with TVs getting larger, why don't TV reviewers start reviewing heat output, temperature-wise, on a TV? I've heard some owners of certain TVs, 65-inch and larger, say that they make their living rooms warm, especially during the summer. Could be smaller living rooms in apartments. Even smaller TVs of 55 inches or smaller can warm a small bedroom after an hour or so, especially when gaming." Well, I'm guessing you are asking why don't TV reviewers test a TV's heat output, kind of rhetorically, but just in case you were really wondering why it isn't more commonly done, my guess would be that it's because it's more work than you might think, at least to get things going, and because it would be tough to make the results meaningful. But I'm up to the challenge and I'm willing to give it a try. And besides that, I've been looking for just one more reason to get a digital laser infrared thermometer gun, and you just gave it to me. So thank you. The difficulty in getting something like this set up is that I'll need to create some testing parameters so that we can get reliable results. And from there, we need a series of controls. So off the top of my head, I'm thinking we'll want to leave the TV on for, say, an hour, playing a predetermined mix of content that we put on every TV to make sure that the stress that we put on each TV is consistent. We have to make sure that the temperature in the room is always the same because heat buildup could exponentially increase the warmer a room is to begin with. And I think we can't test while the AC or heater is blowing or too soon after the AC or heater has been on. So we'll want to standardize how long after the HVAC has shut off we conduct this test. Then we need to measure both the front and the back of the TV, and I suppose take an average from those two readings. Complicating matters, I'd have to figure out where on the back of the TV to take the reading because it would be unfair to measure right behind the power supply on one TV and not on the other. I got to figure that out. See what I mean? There's a lot to it, but let's say that I figure all that out. Now, how do we make the results meaningful? And I don't have the answer to that yet. See, I test mostly 65-inch TVs, so I can just make a rule that I only measure the temperature of 65-inch TVs since I only get 77, 85, and 90-plus inch TVs occasionally and couldn't really build up enough data on those large sizes to make comparisons such that I could conclude that one TV runs hot and another runs cooler. Hey, don't fall asleep on me now. Remember, you asked. All right, now my other concern is that I don't know that how hot a 65-inch variant of a certain model gets tells us anything about how hot a 55-inch version might get, or an 85-inch version. You might think it's reasonable to suspect that a smaller TV would not get quite as hot, while a larger TV would get more hot, but I don't have any data to prove that heat generation is going to be predictably linear. See, it's just not fair for me to just point and shoot a temperature gun at a TV and say, it's this hot, without putting that into context. And to have context, I need a big pool of data. But I can't get that data unless I start collecting. So I promise you this, I'll get that temperature gun because fun, and I'll look into it. Check in with me in about 3 months and I'll let you know where I'm at. That seem fair? Good, thanks. At Channel Mames or Channel Mames, doesn't matter. Anyway, they said, you want to be Linus or Marquez so bad. Nope, not going anywhere near that one right now. Whew, no. Next up at Augustaya7543, hoping that's right, says, I'm looking for a subwoofer to use with my OG HomePods to have more bass. Which is the subwoofer that you can suggest, which has the tiny footprint and is compact and portable? Well, to the best of my understanding, there is no way to add a subwoofer to Apple HomePod speakers, either the OG version or the latest gen. So if you really need more bass in your life, and I can definitely relate to that, then I think you should look at replacing the HomePods with something else or just adding a system that satisfies your music, movie, listening desires. Sorry, I don't have better news for you. Also, by the way, most decent subwoofers tend to be heavy and thus not all that portable. Although that could change soon. I've seen some driver technology that's supposed to be super light could result in some portable lightweight subwoofers. I don't know, one can hope. At Patrick Moodley 6619 says, hey Caleb, great videos. Thank you very much. Looking forward to your new space. What are your thoughts on the various room EQ in AVRs? Comparison between Dirac, Odyssey, YPOW. Is it all much of a muchness or is there some benefit in one over the other? I am really glad you asked this question, but I'm afraid I don't have a super helpful answer for you yet. I personally think that one of the most admirable things someone can do as a reviewer is admit when they don't have adequate information to make a call or share an opinion on something. And that's where I'm at with Room EQ right now. I haven't tested very many AVRs lately, certainly not enough of them to make comparisons, but I intend to change that. Now that I have this space, I can leave a speaker system set up all the time and just swap in AVRs as well as amplifiers and dig into the audio space a little more. So hopefully I'll be able to weigh in on the state of auto EQ programs soon. I will say this though, I've spent a lot of time in the past poo-pooing auto setup wizards and Room EQ programs because when I did work with AVRs a lot, I found that they did more harm than good when it came to the sound I got from them. I recall them doing a good job of determining speaker distance, so they were good at time alignment, but I was never pleased with the crossover points they picked for each speaker, and I also didn't like the way the EQ sounded. Also, I have this theory, not the most popular one, that trying to fix what your room does to your speaker's sound by changing the sound of the speaker is just not a great way to go about doing things. I understand the principle, I just haven't enjoyed the results in the past. But it's time to test things again. I hear Dirac can do some good stuff and I want to hear it for myself. Here's one that just came in before we started recording today. Tony Wagner says, okay, one thing I find very annoying is optical outputs on TVs that stop working when anything is connected to ARC or eARC, and then he references the Hisense 75U8H. We use the optical to feed the transmitter for hearing aids, but have to remove the connection to the receiver in order to get the hearing aids to work. Ideal would be for the optical to always output unless the mute is on. I know those of us with disabilities get ignored a lot, but maybe if things like this were mentioned more, something would happen. I talked to Hisense tech support and was given the brush off. Do any of the TVs you have reviewed have working optical outputs? So first off, Tony, I agree that folks with disabilities deserve some urgency around solutions that help them enjoy the tech they use. And I'm eager to do whatever I can to help that cause. I have not done much testing to determine which TVs automatically switch audio output to ARC or eARC when connected, but I suspect it is most, if not all of them, that do that. And that probably has to do more with how these chipsets in these TVs are programmed than how a brand like Hisense uses them. Thanks to Vincent Teo at HDTV Test, we know that Hisense uses Pentonic SoCs in at least some of its TVs. And I suspect that it is part of that system on chip that causes the optical audio output to get disabled when there is an eARC connection. But I also think that it shouldn't be too hard to adjust the audio output settings so that there is a default audio output, be that user selectable, where you say always use the optical unless I change it, or last used, where the last selected audio output is used until you decide to change it. But the issue of not being able to output to both optical and HDMI at the same time may be an inherent limitation. And by that I mean the capabilities of HDMI and optical are different. HDMI supports audio codecs that optical doesn't, and the audio decoder in the TV needs to adjust depending on what is connected. So I'm not sure we'll ever see a TV that outputs two different audio streams to both optical and HDMI at the same time. I do have a suggestion for you to try though. Consider connecting your hearing aid transceiver to the optical output on your AV receiver if it has one. It's possible that your AV receiver is able to transcode audio coming in via HDMI and route it out the optical connection. And if it does, that means you could just turn on the receiver and mute it when you only want to use the hearing aids. It does mean that you'd have to turn on the receiver pretty much anytime you watch TV, unless you're just going to use the TV speakers. I don't know if that's going to work for you. There could be some copy protection that prevents it from working, but it's definitely worth a shot. Thanks as always for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this edition of You Asked. If you have a question that you would like me to answer, you can leave it as a comment on this video down below. You can also email us at youasked@digitaltrends.com and I'll get your questions there. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to click like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one, and until then, here's 2 other videos I think you might like.